Not a fan.
Yeah, let's go out to Colorado Springs right now. Malkin joins us. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, good to see you.
Got a lot of news regarding the Boston bombers. The older brother, according to the Wall Street Journal, was put on two different watch lists, two different federal watch lists. And the news this morning is apparently the FBI agents working under the public safety exemption were able to get a whole bunch of good information from the younger brother, and they were talking to him, and he was singing like a canary. Doors fly open. Here comes a judge, Mirandizes him. They've got a public defender, prosecutor, shuts him up just like that. The FBI is furious. What are you doing here? We had him, and you stopped it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of dropping news that's coming out now from a lot of sources, and this is particularly troubling because you're hearing from investigative sources that they were divining a lot of intelligence, and then out of the blue comes this judge and this swoop into a process where apparently they were getting a lot of good information. This is definitely something that people on Capitol Hill need to be looking for. And again, I think it's extremely telling that you've got rank and file people leaking about this to the media.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. We know, how could you possibly say that there's no overseas connection when he spent, did the 26-year-old 6 months in Dagestan, in a region in which is known by Russian and U.S. experts as one of the worst of the worst. It's a breeder of Islamic extremism. What is the hesitation of linking that chain? Why is everyone so intent on keeping it here?
Yeah, well, in large part, I think you've got this media culture where they're so intent on painting Jahar as some poor, innocent teenager who was merely a Holden Caulfield-like figure. This is not made up. This is not from The Onion. It's the New York Times likening this guy to Catcher in the Rye's main character. And as Brian said, you've got all of these very glaring signs that this guy was steeped, along with his older brother, in these obscure Islamic extremist figures in Dagestan and Chechnya.
I'm going to skip ahead because it makes sense to do this, because it appears that Secretary of State John Kerry, he was overseas when he said this, so maybe he hadn't gotten the right directives. I'm not sure. But it sounds like he agreed with you, Michelle Malkin, on exactly this, and then Jay Carney, the spokesperson for the president, tried to dial it back. Watch this.
We just had a young person who went to Russia and Chechnya who blew people up in Boston. So he didn't stay where he went, but he learned something where he went, and he came back with a willingness to kill people. I think the world has had enough of people who have no belief system, no policy for jobs, no policy for education, no policy for rule of law, but who just want to kill people because they don't like what they see. There's not room for that.
The State Department has clarified that Secretary Kerry was not reflecting any new information or conclusion about the individuals involved. He was speaking generally about the nature of terrorism. But we are in the process of investigation. Those comments don't reflect any new information. The fact is, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. This investigation is proceeding apace, and we're still in the phase of getting questions answered. We're not making final assessments.
Does this indicate the need for everyone, including cabinet secretaries, to be careful?
I think that in a situation like this, we ought to let the investigators do their work and not jump to conclusions.
Yeah, take your time. We got all the time in the world. There might be a go sign for the rest of a cell that could or could not exist, but don't worry about it.
But what do you make of John Kerry? What do you make of him just speaking off the cuff and giving us his thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess he just had a momentary lapse of common sense there, and we can't have that in Washington. Off to the woodshed with you, John Kerry. You gotta love Carney and his whitewash brush. Didn't say that. Shh. These people are amazing. I mean, I think in terms of this investigation, one of the main questions that so many Americans are going to be asking is, what was the older brother, Tamerlan, doing for that 6-month period in this jihad-infested region? It was not a Disneyland vacay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it isn't. It wasn't Cancun. It was by the way, John Kerry didn't say anything out of turn. No. He just says the guy was overseas. He came back militant, even more extremist than when he left. He was already on the radar. He did nothing but recount what everyone experienced. And by the way, that's his area. Massachusetts is his home. So he should be allowed to speak off the cuff like that. And to be muzzled, it's got to be an insult.
And speaking of Massachusetts, Michelle, I'm sure you saw this. You know, up in Massachusetts, we were wondering how exactly this guy was able to pay for the bomb. The boys were able to pay for the bombs and the guns and everything else. Well, there's a story out now that apparently the older boy, young man, that is to say, was apparently selling pot. Meanwhile, his entire family was on the dole receiving welfare from Massachusetts. Both the brothers, his parents, his wife, his daughter as well. So to thank the government for the gratitude to show, okay, thanks for getting me on my feet. Exactly. I'm going to try to kill as many people as I can.
Yeah, the Boston Herald did a great job reporting on this, and lots of outlets followed up on it. Yeah, the thanks we get, the gratitude we get. And of course, these welfare benefits were attendant benefits, and you have to step back a little further, because I think that there will have to be a lot of questions asked about asylum, and this is the subject of my column today, and it's up at michellemalkin.com, because why is it that this father was able to convince the government that he had a credible fear of prosecution, and where is he now? In the very country that he fled, and whose phony claim of persecution allowed him to come here, get citizenship for the younger son. The older son's application was pending, and then of course all those supplemental and attendant benefits of living in the U.S., including taxpayer-funded welfare and largesse.
Apparently, if you can prove that you come from a region of the world where you need to find asylum in the U.S., those perks kick in almost immediately when you get to this country. And I remember covering it on that day, Friday, Brian, we said right then and there when it started coming out that he received a $2,500 scholarship to go to one of the most prestigious high schools in all of Boston. We said that day, Americans will be angry when they find out that this family was completely supplemented and they became terrorists right here at home.
But don't worry, the mom seems like a wonderful woman. She said, my oldest son is killed, so I don't care if my youngest son is going to kill today. I want the world to hear it, Ali Akbar. So I can't wait for her to get back here. We have a lot of catching up to do.
Jihad mom.
There you go. All right. Michelle Malkin joining us from Colorado Springs, as she does every Thursday. Thank you very much, and check out her website to read that column.